Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for another episode of Fuck, Marry,
Hey everybody, welcome to the Fuck, Marry, Kill podcast, where we combine learning about fun subjects and the timeless classic game, Fuck, Marry, Kill. Take it away, Devika.
For those of you who don't know, Fuck, Marry, Kill is a game where you're given 3 unsavory or extremely savory options, usually celebrities, and you have to decide who you'd fuck, who you'd marry, and who you'd kill.
And disclaimer, all Fuck, Marry, Kill decisions are theoretical. Obviously, don't get wild. We're not actually taking this thing seriously. We just want to learn and choose who we would fuck, marry, kill.
Or what we would fuck, marry, kill in terms of concepts, historical events, et cetera, et cetera.
Normally, it would be like exciting celebrities, and we
Yeah.
have to choose and be like rough. But we sometimes do like serial killers and food and just different subjects.
Absolutely.
Welcome to episode 2. I'm your host,
Woohoo.
Britt.
And I'm Devika.
We were college roommates at Purdue just to get to know us a little bit. And now we're adults who podcast whilst drinking wine.
That's right.
Cheers.
Cheers. We actually were drinking red wine earlier, and now we've switched to white. And this white is Oyster Bay, right?
Exotic Oyster Bay, you know. We're a new podcast, so we're starting with the cheap stuff. But actually, Oyster Bay is pretty good.
I enjoy it. I enjoy it.
I buy it on the reg. Euler.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to have to do different wines because we're going to be in different places because I live in Portugal.
Yep. Devika lives in Portugal now. We used to live in Indiana together. We both lived in Chicago for
for a long time.
Yeah. And now I live in Florida and I'm living the retired life, like learning golf. And
Right. We're going to go golfing together soon.
yeah. I'm not very good.
Neither of us are very good. I'm not very good. Oh,
yeah, no one
that's
can lend
fun.
me clubs. Like when I go to a new golf course and I don't bring my clubs and I want to golf, they're like, we don't have that. I also use senior men's golf clubs.
Good.
Because I'm tall. So I can't use women's. They're like, oh. So like when I use women's,
senior?
I'm
Why can't it just be
over
like
so much.
regular men's? So it has to be senior?
Oh, they're heavier. So I actually tested at like a PGA Superstore. They'll let you test out their
that
clubs.
makes sense.
And I did better with senior men's clubs, which are apparently, correct me if I'm wrong, viewers, listeners, they're heavier. No, excuse me. Senior men's clubs are lighter than regular men's clubs, but heavier than women's.
Huh.
So I'm like the Goldilocks.
There you go. You got the perfect little combo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went.
And I'm also a senior man.
Yeah, and you live in Florida, so
I
you're
live in Florida.
by default.
Yeah,
You're probably a senior man.
probably.
I the first like scrimmage thing that I did, I didn't lose my ball once.
Wow.
And I was really proud of that. Yeah.
That's actually really impressive.
Yeah. And my friend told me that the look is like 90% of it when you go to like these corporate things, which is kind of true.
As in your clothes?
Yes.
Okay.
And so she lent me all of her golf course because I was like, yeah, I'll just go to like Nordstrom. She's like, honey, you're not going to find golf stuff at Nordstrom. So yeah. And then since then, I just realized that as long as I don't lose the ball and I am dressed for the thing,
dressed,
I'm
period.
fine. Yeah, I'm dressed
And
for
wearing
golf.
clothes.
Then I'm good.
Got it.
Then I just kind of go along. But I enjoy it now.
Yeah.
I actually like doing it.
It is fun.
Yeah,
I
have fun
actually
now.
am surprising myself at how much of a retired old man I'm becoming.
Yeah,
Because it's like it's kind of enjoyable.
Retirement's
I get
great.
it now,
yeah.
but I'm not retired. I'm still. I need money.
That's why we're
still.
doing this podcast. For all of the
Please support us.
of all of the
Please
hundreds of
sponsor us.
dollars we'll make in the next 20 years.
All the tens of dollars.
Yeah, tens and fives and tens of dollars.
Okay, so back to
yeah.
the subject.
Back to the subject. So last week,
Sure, last week. Yeah, whenever we post this is when we mean.
whenever, it was
We've
actually
had
like
wine.
5 minutes ago. But we did serial killers. And
Correct.
if you were like, if the listener was ever in doubt that like about the fuck, marry, kill scenario, this will totally throw you off base because I'm not doing people. I'm doing food histories.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So
Much
this
more
was fun.
sophisticated than a female serial killer.
No, there's some really messed up food histories.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is Devika's episode. Last week was my episode,
Yes.
Britt's episode.
That's right.
And we're getting into food history.
Food
I don't really know a
histories.
lot about this, but I love food and I'm not really a picky eater. Are you?
No. I just love food.
Same.
I like trying new food. I really don't like onion on pizza, but apart from that, it's like really specific, but I'm not very picky outside of that.
I think the only thing I don't like is when people talk too much about like, this is horrible, the source of the food. Like foie gras, for example. Yeah. I'm like, ooh,
I can't do it.
Don't love that.
Nope.
Yeah.
I actually, in veal, I just don't eat veal.
I've seen, I drove past some veal, what are they, like cages that they keep? And I am so turned off. Yeah. Obviously, it's awful. I would be anyway, but I saw the cages and now I'm like.
Can't do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's horrible.
We went to, Alex and I went to a Michelin star restaurant. It was really cool.
Alex is Devika's husband.
Yes, Alex is my husband. And it was for my belated birthday because, I had COVID over my birthday. But bummer. But this was such an incredible experience. It was at the Penalonga Resort in Portugal. And they had veal. Veal is actually kind of big in Portugal, and I never eat it. But what was interesting is I talked to... and I still didn't eat it that night, but I did speak to the chef about it. And granted, this is a Michelin star restaurant, but they vet the farms and everything. And the veal is not allowed to be like kept in cages. They're free. It's still killing a young animal.
Yeah, it's still not great.
Great, but like at least it's not like this barbaric. I don't know. I still just don't eat it. I have a problem with baby animals and like that whole idea.
Oh yeah, foie gras, same thing.
Yeah, yep, can't do it. So. But anyways, I did not pick any animal. There's no animal cruelty.
Oh, good. But it's still a little bit fucked up.
Yeah. Fucked up histories.
We need a little bit of fucked upness for each of our episodes.
Exactly. Yes. It's more, so each of these stories has, has a lot of really great entrepreneurship and some long lasting impact. But there's just some really negative parts of it. That are important to know. All right. So Kellogg cornflakes is the first food that I'm going to tell the history of.
I love a good cornflake. I'm from Indiana. Devika's not.
Yes, I'm not. But it was actually invented in Michigan. But we'll get into that.
Still Midwestern.
Midwestern.
Still a fan.
But it has a really very interesting past, to say the least. So this household breakfast food was actually created with the intent of reducing people's appetites, but also their sexual desires.
What?
Yes.
What?
Yep.
Why though?
What era? We're going to learn all about it. This was the late 1800s.
Okay, no sexy time in the 1800s.
Not with the Kellogg family. They were not.
Okay, continue. I keep interrupting you.
No, it's okay.
Shocking.
I felt the same way. I had a lot of questions. So Kellogg's cornflakes were invented in the late 19th century by John Harvey Kellogg and his brother Will Keith Kellogg.
Okay.
They were born in the mid 1800s in Michigan, and John Harvey was the older sibling to Will.
Okay.
Will Keith.
John and Will.
Yep, John and Will. By about 8 years. So there was an 8-year gap, but there was all these other siblings. It's just that they're just not relevant. So I didn't really
Those poor siblings.
Yeah, they're not really.
Guys, you're not relevant.
They just don't matter as much. I'm sure they mattered to like their parents and stuff.
Yeah, they had that Kellogg money.
Yeah. So John and Will's parents believed that the second coming of Christ was like right around the corner, and they didn't bother giving their kids much of an education. So John Harvey actually only had a few years of formal schooling as a child, but he was a super avid reader, and he gave himself enough of education to get employment with some prestigious Seventh-day Adventists.
Adventists,
Okay. The religious group, which his parents were a part of for a little bit, but John got like really into it.
Okay. And he was like, what, young?
He was pretty young. He was like a teenager.
Okay.
He eventually got into medical school, but it was like not how it is getting into medical school today.
Right.
And then after studying for like a couple of years, he like became a doctor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like not quite, I guess that was like totally fine then.
Totally fine.
And
everything goes in the 1800s.
Yeah, everything goes. Everything goes. And then I need a fact check. I'm going to look this up again. It's not that important to the story, but I think Will was like a broom maker and salesman, but I'm going to, let's check that. Quick fact check. We double checked, and Will Keith Kellogg was indeed working for a broom company. He was a broom salesman, and then he went into leadership, but he was not a broom maker. Okay, so in 1876, Dr. John Harvey Kellogg joined the staff of a place called the Battle Creek Sanitarium as a physician. And the
Battle Creek, Michigan?
Yes, it's in Battle Creek, Michigan. So the Battle Creek Sanitarium was founded in 1866 by members of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Battle Creek, Michigan. And the sanitarium was originally called the Western Health Reform Institute. And it was established as a place for church members to receive healthcare. And it was all in accordance of their religious beliefs.
So sanitarium is what exactly?
It's kind of like a hospital, like a clinic hospital thing.
Okay, so it's not like...
And like retreat type thing.
Yeah,
so
sanitarium
like you would
makes
go in.
different like connotations in my head. So
Wait, how do you think of it?
I don't know. It was like I almost put like insane asylum plus very like clinical. I don't know.
It is pretty clinical, but and I'll talk a little bit about what went on there. But it was like you did kind of like check yourself in. So it wasn't just like a hospital, but it wasn't like a mental institution. In fact, there were a lot of like famous people that went there, like Woodrow Wilson, like Amelia Earhart, and yeah. Okay. So, so the sanatorium's philosophy was based on the Adventist belief that health is a gift from God, and that it's the individual's responsibility to take care of their body and mind. And they promoted a vegetarian diet and exercise, hydrotherapy, light therapy, and they had this really holistic approach to health and wellness, which is really like novel at that time.
That's actually popular today too.
Totally.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of the like practices that were started in the sanatorium still have like lasting effects. They started doing like certain kinds of electroshock therapy that wasn't as like invasive as you know what was going. Yeah, so it had a lot of that going on, which is why it attracted such a like prestigious group of people to come.
Yeah.
The Kelloggs were also vegetarian, and John Kellogg really liked this approach to health and wellness, and he became a leader there pretty quickly. And under his leadership, the sanitarium became famous for innovation. So including the use of electrical stimulation, like I said, massage therapy, light therapy, hydrotherapy. He was really big in the importance of personal hygiene, and he promoted regular bathing, which was not like
regular bathing.
It wasn't a given.
Big fan.
It wasn't a given back then. And also like weirder stuff like the use of enemas is like cleansing body toxins.
Can you imagine how absolutely stinky it was back then? Like before bath times and stuff. Not to judge. They didn't know.
That's all.
Gross.
So gross.
Like the amount of air fresheners and stuff and like laundry detergent, all that stuff just not being there.
No. It would be so gross. So gross. They just had like perfumes.
Yeah, it's a hard pass for me.
Just
and the perfume probably smelled like armpits. And they're like, well, this armpit smells better than that armpit
mine.
smell.
Yeah, exactly. So as I mentioned before, the sanitarium attracted many high-profile patients, including President William Howard Taft, inventor Thomas Edison, Amelia Earhart. Yeah, Edison went there. So it's like not just all like a whimsical, weird place, but it was also a training ground for nurses and other health professionals. And a lot of them went off and like branched off and started other clinics. So it had this really long-lasting effect. And Battle Creek, Michigan became known as Sanitarium City and was home to several other health facilities. Just because Battle Creek Sanatorium isn't like the main thing about this, but to kind of close that chapter, it continued operating until 1942, and then it was closed due to financial difficulties.
Okay.
So I'm going to post all of my sources on the show notes just because it's easier.
Great.
All right. So now let's get back to Dr. John Harvey Kellogg and some of his beliefs and some of the other things that happen at the sanatorium that doesn't really make its way into conversation as much in terms of like long-lasting impact. So Dr. John Harvey Kellogg was, in addition to being vegetarian, in addition to not wanting foods to corrupt your body, he thought that anything other than bland food would excite people sexually.
Anti-sex. Okay, yeah.
He
got
was
it.
very anti-sex, and he was not only anti-sex, he was sexual feeling, masturbation, and his treatment for people who had, or his recommended treatment, who were like chronic, quote unquote, masturbators, was to have circumcision without anesthetics.
What?
Or if you're female, to like pour acid on your, yes. So he was
like, that's a jalapeno. You can't eat it or you're going to masturbate for the rest of your life.
Jalapenos, no good.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was really against that. He was also, so he believed that masturbation could cause serious health problems. He thought that they could lead to a range of physical and mental illnesses, including blindness, epilepsy, insanity.
Yeah.
As it does.
Definitely going to go into shock if I drank it.
Yeah. You're going to get just full blindness.
Can you imagine?
I mean,
where is his proof?
But like, I feel like in order to jump to, well, then just snip off and why is it always worse for the women too? Like pouring
God, that's way worse. That's
onto
a slow torture.
Yeah. It's really messed up.
One's a snip, one's a slow torture.
One's a slow torture. But then he had like the use of metal cages around dudes like dicks so that they couldn't grow very long.
What?
Yeah.
Metal cages?
Yeah. That you could like walk right so that you wouldn't get erections. Yeah. So he was pretty anti like sexual. Yeah.
Okay.
He was pretty anti like sexual feeling, and he thought that a healthy diet could actually suppress that. So not only did spicy diets flare it up, but if you have the right diet, you could suppress it.
Okay.
And he recommended a bland vegetarian diet that was low in protein, high in fiber. And so
also just shitting all the time and not enjoying your life.
Which, to be fair, you don't really feel very sexual when you have to run to the restroom all the time.
I can't do it when I have to poopy.
He was right. And he also promoted regular exercise as a way of maintaining good health and, not going down that path.
I'll allow that.
Mm-hmm. But he gets kind of worse as a human. He had really controversial views on race. So he believed in the theory of eugenics. Mm-hmm. And he believed that there were certain races and individuals that were biologically superior to others. He also supported forced sterilization of people with mental and physical disabilities, as well as those who were just generally deemed unfit to reproduce.
Not a fan.
No. And the sanitarium did accept Black Americans, but they were all segregated and their standard of care was not nearly as good.
Oh, I believe it. Are you kidding me? Back then?
Like not even a chance.
It's still to this day pretty shite.
Yeah. And it's actually really interesting learning about the eugenics movement, which now has obviously for good reason a really bad rap. But before Nazi Germany, it was very widely accepted within the US. And that's like an episode of like another podcast and a whole like thing. But
we'll just fuck that whole episode.
Yeah, seriously. It's like really,
oh no,
really
we'll kill that whole episode.
Yeah, kill it. We have the option. We have the option to kill.
We'll just kill that whole episode.
Yeah, we'll kill that whole episode. So now let's go to Dr. John's brother, Will, who was also at the sanatorium, and he was helping Will and, he was helping John, and John's wife was helping him as well. So now let's get to cornflakes, which is what we were originally talking about.
Okay.
And
is Will like the less smart brother?
He's the younger brother. I wouldn't say less smart. He's the more entrepreneurial one.
Got it. Okay. Street smart versus book smart.
Yeah, maybe that's a good way to say it.
Yeah.
Or business savvy versus like crazy doctor.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Love that.
And it's not really nailed down who came up with what exactly. Like there's a lot of different accounts. Some people say that it was Dr. John Harvey and his wife. Some people say it was all three of them. The most like commonly accepted, it seemed just from my research, is that the Kellogg brothers accidentally left a pot of boiled wheat sitting out. And when they returned to it the next day, it became stale and flaky.
Delicious.
And so they decided to bake those stale flakes, and they created the first cornflakes.
So like, this looks soggy and shitty. Let's bake it and feed it to other people.
Yes. because they were looking for something that would be easy to digest and wouldn't stimulate appetite
naturally
and sex drive.
rotten, soggy food is really easy to digest.
It's perfect for it.
Cute.
So initially, the Kellogg brothers only made cornflakes for the patients at the sanitarium, but they soon began to sell them commercially. And in 1906, Will Keith Kellogg, so the younger brother, founded the Kellogg Company to mass produce cornflakes and other cereals. So the Kellogg Company continued to grow, and Will Keith Kellogg became the sort of force behind everything.
Okay.
He had new marketing techniques. He used cartoons and mascots. He also sponsored radio shows and promotional events. And he started coming out with new cereal products. And some of these were like Rice Krispies,
Rice Krispie steaks.
Rice Krispie treats, I was going to say. But
Rice Krispie
neither of
steak.
those.
I like Rice Krispie steaks.
That would be amazing.
We should do that.
Do you want to try it?
Yeah.
Right after this. Let's get some steaks, not veal.
I'll take mine medium rare.
Yeah. with
it's
some
just like
lightly
gooey
toasted Rice Krispies in the top.
Sorry, I deviated.
No, I mean, that would be
I'm so hungry.
I'm really hungry too. I can't wait to go get some
We've
food
had a lot
after
of
this.
wine and a little bit of food.
We had like 2 crackers, oyster crackers with our oyster wine.
Devika brought oyster crackers from
The plane.
the airport. Yeah, the plane.
From the plane.
She came from Portugal and she's jet lagged, and we're drinking wine. And
This is going to be a great second episode. So, one of these new cereal products was like Frosted Flakes and Special K.
Okay.
So this started like these new avenues of promotion started causing a rift between the brothers. And despite the growing success, the relationship between the two brothers became strained over time. Dr. Kellogg believed the Kellogg Company should focus on promoting, and I'm doing little air quotes, health and wellness.
Okay.
Whereas the younger brother, Will Keith Kellogg, was more interested in expansion and growing the company's product line and increasing profits.
Yeah.
And that means adding sugar into stuff. I mean, it's America, you know.
America.
And
Frosted Flakes.
Yeah. Frosted Flakes.
Okay.
I love Frosted Flakes.
I wonder where they got that idea, because the
add
original
sugar to
Flakes
it.
idea was from like soggy baked
Yeah.
bullshit flakes.
Well, they saw the soggy, like they saw this flaky thing and they were like, let's bake it. And then it was like this delicious, I like cornflakes. Is that
I do
weird?
too, but I can't
love
imagine where
Frosted
their
Flakes.
brains were going when they're like, ooh, this looks like shit. Let's bake it.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's just dry this up.
Yeah.
Let's get the sog
It's like
out.
seeing like chewed gum on the road and be like, let's bake it. It might be delicious.
So gross. Will Keith Kellogg, so there was a big legal proceeding, and then in 1930, Will Keith Kellogg bought out his brother's share of the company, and the two never spoke to each other again, supposedly. Today, Kellogg's is a multinational food company that produces a wide range of products, including breakfast cereals, snacks, and frozen foods. Kellogg's cornflakes remain one of the company's most popular products and are sold in over 180 countries around the world. So Will Keith Kellogg, in addition to founding the Kellogg Company, which mass-produced cornflakes and other cereals, this is in addition to the company. So he started this foundation. He donated the equivalent of over $1 billion.
Jeez. And what was the foundation benefiting?
So that's what's kind of interesting, is that despite like a lot of the controversial things in the sanatorium, the W.K. Kellogg Foundation was for like child welfare, and they did a lot for like the Native American population.
Okay.
And even today, the foundation has like a lot of grants, and it's spent all around the world to help kids. So they're doing a lot. They're doing a lot for like to prevent childhood obesity in the United States. In 2016, the Kellogg Foundation was funding more than 40 projects in Native American parts of the country.
Okay.
So yeah, so
weirdly horrible, but a little bit.
A little bit for, at least Will Keith, who
right.
did
And
start
his
the
is kind of
company.
everlasting good.
Right.
It's still a foundation to this day, right?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
But, you know,
Yeah.
the source of creation for Kellogg's cornflakes was
Nasty.
Yeah.
Okay.
all right. So that's number one.
Number one.
Okay. So number two.
Okay. Option number 2, food history.
food history. This one holds a special place in my heart, even though I knew going in that it was pretty problematic because of how horrendously it appropriates culture that is not its own. So, Taco Bell.
Okay.
Right?
Taco Bell.
I mean, we know this.
So we have Kellogg's
feel
and now
like-
Taco Bell.
Now Taco Bell. So,
Oh, no, don't ruin Taco Bell for me.
but I feel like Taco Bell was kind of, I mean, it was like kind of known, right? Because it's like you're taking something, it's like Tex-Mex to the extreme.
Americanizing
But
it. Yeah.
yeah, but I didn't know about all of the details of it, but I'll go through.
All right, let's do this.
So Taco Bell was founded in 1962 in Downey, California by Glenn Bell, who was a former Marine who had a lot of years of experience in the food industry before starting Taco Bell.
Okay. I always wondered where the bell came from.
Yep,
All
it
right.
was Glenn Bell. It was his last
Glenn
name.
Bell. Old Glenny.
But it was quite a long journey for him to get to like opening his first Taco Bell. So in the late 50s and 60s in America, fast food was like really taking off and hamburgers were the star of the show. So In-N-Out, Jack in the Box, and the big Goliath, McDonald's. So McDonald's...
In-N-Out was back in the 50s?
Yeah, it's pretty old. I don't know exactly how old.
I
but
did not realize that. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's older. We'll fact check that at the end of the episode maybe,
Okay.
but like pretty sure. But McDonald's was like the Goliath at this time. So and there were burger joints everywhere.
Yeah.
So McDonald's had spearheaded the assembly line preparation of foods. And fast food was really big for working class folks who needed something affordable and quick. So you have Glenn Bell. And Glenn Bell was born in 1923 to a working class family.
Okay.
Ironically, his mom was actually from a really wealthy family, but his dad was kind of like wasn't great with money, and they were always
they
like
evened each other out.
Yeah, and I don't think it sounded like she didn't get a lot of money from her folks, or I don't know, but they were struggling. Like they were struggling a lot and scraping to get by. And he lived in the San Bernardino, California area. And he grew up during the Depression. So he recognized at a really young age that even the poorest people that he would run across would spend their last cent on something like a hamburger. So like good tasting food. He recognized the importance of it.
Right.
So he joined the Marines.
I mean, I still do.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, that's like the most important, right?
I mean, it's like right now, but I feel like I won't after this.
Well, yeah, listen to it. We'll see.
Okay.
So we'll see. I'm not going to give away anything. But,
Okay, don't. No.
All right.
Keep going.
All right, fine. So he joined the Marines and served in World War II. And when he got home, he built his first hamburger stand, and he built it like literally by hand. He even got offered construction jobs from people who were watching him build it because he was just really meticulous and good at what he was doing and hardworking. He was really ambitious about his hamburger stand, and he wanted to kind of be the next McDonald's. But there were a lot of burger joints, and the market was getting pretty saturated. Excuse me.
And like burgers back then were way better than they are now.
You think
I feel
so?
like now they're all like chemically
Yeah.
bullshit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So like fast food,
Burgers
I
back
think
then
so.
were way better.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, at fast food places, I bet. But I bet like if you get like a mean burger nowadays with all like the stuff they do to it, might have been better. I don't know. But then simplicity might be the way to go. Who knows?
Yeah.
I wasn't there.
I'm same.
Same.
I was born in 1922. No, I'm just kidding. No, I wasn't.
You look great.
Thanks. I use night cream.
Yeah. Retinol does wonders.
Botox.
Botox. So much Botox. So at that time in San Bernardino, which is where Bell lived, there was a really large Mexican-American population, and there was a lot of really good Mexican food there as a result. And Southern California had been a Spanish and Mexican territory prior to being part of America anyway. So that had been there for a long time. There was one specific restaurant called Milta Cafe that sold delicious fried tacos. The Milta Cafe was started by Lucia Rodriguez and her husband Salvador.
Okay.
So Lucia oversaw the kitchen. So Bell started frequenting the restaurant. He'd stay late. He'd come after, customers left or whatever, and he'd ask questions about the food, the ingredients. He'd watch how they did things, and he started learning how the tacos were made.
Okay. Sorry, what was the name of the restaurant?
The Milta.
The Milta. Okay.
Milta Cafe. Sorry.
Got it. Milta Cafe. Okay.
And not to like bury the lead, but I'm not going to save it. I'm just going to tell
Bury
you
it.
it still exists today.
No way.
Yes, it's still operated by the Rodriguez family in like the third generation. And
It must
it's still
be
in
good.
California.
It must be good.
Yeah.
There's something about it.
Yeah, I'm excited to go try it.
go,
I didn't
yeah.
know. Yeah, I really want to go try it.
Okay.
So he started thinking that the taco was kind of like the Mexican hamburger, right?
Right.
Like it's the ingredients, you have like this sort of like carb heavy
Yeah. The
shell,
basics.
right?
Yeah.
And then like meat and lettuce and tomato and cheese. And he started thinking about like, all right, how do I put this into my hamburger stand? But at the same time, he was like a big workaholic, and that's a trait that he had even down the line, like throughout everything he's done. But that didn't really vibe well with his family life, and he wasn't very present, and he ended up missing like the kind of straw that broke the camel's back. He ended up missing his son's birthday, and his wife divorced him. She was like, I'm done. She got custody of the kids, and she got the hamburger stand.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It was quite a bit.
Okay.
But it's at least from what I've like looked into, it seemed like he wasn't like too fussed because he had his eye set on this taco thing.
What a jagbag.
Yeah, he was like ready to. Well, I don't know.
Bad dad.
Maybe he was like sad about his kid. I just meant about the hamburger stand. I don't.
Oh.
I'm not claiming to talk about his.
They're like, he's not fussed about.
He's not
making
fussed about his children
for the rest of
I don't know. I don't know about his relationship with his children post that.
Must have been bad though. To get divorced back then,
It wasn't great
Must
on
have
his
been
wife. Yeah,
Yeah.
he wasn't around.
that
very
wasn't
much.
really a thing. I mean,
He was
but-
definitely like a workaholic. From
Yeah.
everything I've read, he would like put in like tons of hours. So he wanted to start like a stand for tacos instead of burgers, but he was denied loans by banks because nobody thought that Americans would want to eat Mexican food.
They're so wrong. They're so wrong.
Yep. So he turned to. I know. I really want a taco. So I know this is like the word. Let's talk about
starving.
food right now.
We
We're
have
both
not
starving.
eaten properly at all.
So he started looking for private funding, and he received it from a man named McDonald, who is not
Ironic,
related
though.
to, yeah. So he was like a retail store owner.
Okay.
And so McDonald's, yeah, really smart. So McDonald's gave Bell funding so long as they can be 50-50 partners, and the tacos started selling really well. But Bell wanted to expand, right? He wanted to be like this next
Businessman.
yeah, like next McDonald's. But McDonald wanted to keep business as usual. And so the pair split up with McDonald's buying Bell out of his share.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, Bell had to start over. But then when he did start over, he used his own name. And this is the birth of Taco Bell.
Okay.
So the first Taco Bell restaurant was a small stand built in the faux mission fashion that they're still built in today. That sort of like fake kind of like Mexican ranch looking, you know. He wanted the restaurant to stand out. So that's why he built it that way, because he wanted to mimic what Americans sort of envisioned Mexico to like be like.
It's always what Americans envision and not what the real thing is.
It was like definite appropriation. Like he wasn't even trying to like be authentic. He wasn't trying to like bring the authentic
He's a
Mexican
businessman.
cuisine. Yes,
He's
exactly.
like, Will.
It was very Americanized. Yes,
Yeah.
he's like Will.
Okay.
That's kind of a connection. You'll
Yeah,
find
totally.
like
Apples to
that sort
apples.
of, yeah. So the restaurant became popular pretty quickly, and he wanted to expand, but it was still pretty hard to get funding. So in 1965, Bell turned to a gentleman named Kermit Beck, who was a former police officer, and he had no restaurant experience, this guy Beck. But Bell gets Beck to open a franchise, and what he does is he is basically just trying to be a salesman and show like, oh my God, if you get this franchise, you're going to make so much money, you're not going to know what to do with it. And they made this massive party that literally lasted overnight, and like just so much opulence and like riches and everything. And and it worked. He started getting all these phone calls of people who wanted to open franchises.
Okay.
And like Kermit Beck bought like a Cadillac and a
Love a
boat.
Kermit.
And, yeah, his name's Kermit the Beck.
We got to bring that name back. Somebody start naming your child Kermit.
Not us, but somebody should.
Yeah. Not us.
But no offense to anybody named Kermit.
No, we love a Kermit.
Yeah,
Don't get
I
us
love
wrong.
that. I would be so happy if I met someone named Kermit.
Okay.
Anyways, so they're growing quite a bit. Like they're opening up all these new Taco Bell
And this
locations.
is mainly on the West Coast?
Yes. I think at this point, yeah.
Yeah.
But Bell starts going into debt. So he's putting all of his money into the franchises, but the franchises are like making money, but Bell isn't. So he needs to get more revenue. Like he needs these stores producing more revenue so that he can also benefit from it. So he does something revolutionary. He calls for stores to stay open until 11 p.m. across 100 locations. So this is the birth of late night dining. Before this, it was like a family affair to go to fast food. And not only did this, give this a possibility, but it also got to a whole different clientele, a similar clientele that we have today, which is like drunk people and like
kids.
Yeah, and late night travelers. You know what I mean?
Boardman.
Oh my gosh, I remember
We might have to go tonight if we miss the restaurant.
I love I'm down. I remember like I was traveling so much at this point in my life, and like I was in this small town in the middle of nowhere. So I don't even remember. And the only place open, even all the McDonald's and stuff had closed, was a Taco Bell. And I was so grateful.
All reliable.
Yeah. But anyway, so a lot of other fast food restaurants follow step, including McDonald's.
Yeah.
So this is the birth of all of this. So Taco Bell today has about 8,000 locations worldwide. Glenn Bell was a terrific entrepreneur, and arguably Taco Bell was the introduction of Mexican food to mainstream America. I mean, because before that, there was, apart from the West Coast, there wasn't that knowledge of what a lot of the stuff was.
Right.
But the chain massively appropriates, or was built on appropriation. The Melted Cafe, like I mentioned, is still operating. It hasn't seen any financial upside from Taco Bell.
Oh.
But at the same time, there was no document signed, and it was like a new thing. So,
Okay.
but yeah, and then there were still issues, and this is getting away from the origin story, but there were still issues more recently with like the Chihuahua and like a lot of these ad campaigns that were definitely not sensitive to Mexican
Very
Americans.
popular and not sensitive.
Yes. So there was a lot of cool innovations and everything, but it came at a cost. So that's the second bit there.
Both pretty awful. Both pretty bad.
Are you ready for the third?
I don't know. All right, let's do this.
So the third is actually a drink, not a food. And it's Fanta.
Fanta.
Do you like Fanta?
I had a phase when I was like in middle school where my sister introduced me to pineapple Fanta, I think it was. I don't even remember.
Do you remember like the Fanta girls?
I absolutely do. Yeah, they were. Yeah, that's a popular Halloween costume to this day.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a big push of reintroducing Fanta.
Oh, really? Because they had some bad PR.
Yeah, kind of. And also, I think even more than that, at some point, Coca-Cola was trying to push like Minute Maid. Yeah.
Oh.
And then they were like, oh, that's going to be healthy. Fanta can be the unhealthy one.
Minute Maid is healthy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. You heard it first here. Minute Maid is healthy.
That's what they were trying to brand it as.
Fanta, do they still sell it today?
Yeah, totally. It's actually the second biggest soda in the world.
Really?
It's a lot bigger internationally than domestically.
So even Coke and Pepsi?
Yeah, Coke is number one.
What? And I would have never guessed that.
No, me neither.
I would have guessed Pepsi.
Yeah, right?
Wild.
Globally.
And
it's Fanta.
Fanta's not like underneath either.
It's under Coca-Cola.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So quick fact check, Fanta is actually the 7th most popular soda beverage worldwide. It is not the second. The second is Diet Coke. First is Coke, then Diet Coke, then Pepsi. So quick fact check there. Yep.
Coca-Cola's just killing it, aren't they?
Well, you ready for this? Because you're going to know where it's going in the first sentence.
Okay.
Fanta is a soft drink that was first created in Germany during World War II.
Oh, no. No.
You
Fanta,
already know.
Fanta, you must go. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so you already kind of know the direction.
All right.
All right. So the drink was developed as a response to scarcity of ingredients that were needed to make Coca-Cola, which was very popular in Germany in the time. So
Okay.
I'll talk about why all of that happened. So let's start really quick with Coca-Cola because I think that ties in to Fanta a little bit. So Coca-Cola was invented in 1886 by another doctor, Dr. John Smith Pemberton.
John Smith, original.
John Smith, real original. He sold it in Atlanta out of a pharmacy. Pemberton was a Confederate war veteran.
Out of a pharmacy because it was made with cocaine.
Well, you're gonna hear about what it was made
sorry,
of.
did I ruin it?
No. You're getting there. So Pemberton was a Confederate war veteran who invented Coca-Cola when he was trying to find an alternative painkiller to morphine, to which he was addicted because of his wound from the war. So he made Coca-Cola from the coca leaf and the cola nut. That's the name, Coca-Cola.
Okay.
The coca leaf is also used to make cocaine,
Fun.
as you mentioned.
Fun.
So it might not be surprising. This is literally what I wrote. So it might not be surprising that Coca-Cola took off in popularity in the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So in 1920, the company opened their first bottling operations in France. And by 1929, they were also bottling in Germany. So they're like going massively global really quickly. Yeah. So side note, Coca-Cola still uses coca leaves, but their beverages are cocaine free. They sell, they're still cocaine free.
What a ripoff.
They sell the cocaine to a pharmaceutical company called Mallinckrodt for medical purposes.
So they still actively sell cocaine to somebody.
Yeah, like or whatever you would make cocaine out of, like that's part of it. Yeah.
So they legally make cocaine?
Actually, it's interesting. There's
cocaine.
only a few companies in the United States that are. I was told there was only one, but this was my client at some point, and their largest client was Coca-Cola, and they're the only FDA approved chemical company that's able to process coca leaves.
Whoa!
Yeah, so they take the
I didn't know
extract.
it was legal anywhere.
Yeah, they take the extract out of it, but it's not like cocaine that you snort up your like they're not like refining it and selling it. But
so Coca-Cola still sells to pharmacies.
Yes,
the coca leaves part of it.
Yes, yeah. What drug is it?
What drug do they make?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh.
I didn't look that up.
Oh, you gotta find out.
We can look up. We can look up the medical purposes. Okay, I'm guessing they don't just like sell it as a cocaine drug, but maybe they use. Okay,
I went on a tangent. Sorry.
No, that's fair. I mean, it's cocaine. It's exciting. All right. So in the 1930s, a gentleman named Max. All right, he's German, but I'm saying Max Keith, but I think it's like Max Keth or like Keth or something.
Yeah.
I'm going to call him Max Keith, but I apologize because I know I'm not saying it right.
Yeah, pronunciations are hard.
Yeah.
Especially back in the day.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just German, but I don't know.
Also German.
Right. Yeah. So I'm just going to say Max. Max started working at Coca-Cola's German subsidiary, and he takes over operations when an American named Ray Powers dies in a car accident, who was in charge at first. So at this point, Hitler and Nazis are in control of Germany. So Max Keith was a businessman through and through. He saw the widespread nationalism in Germany, and he knew that that could be a source of more revenue. So he started tying Coca-Cola to Germany and the Nazi Party pretty hard. There was even a Jewish man on the board of Coca-Cola, and like at one point he was like, "Oh, maybe he should step down." And luckily they didn't ask him to step down. But yeah, it gets real like murky. But he really leans into Nazi Germany and Coca-Cola being like tied at the hip. But it is important to know that Max Keith was never a member of the Nazi Party. Like he never joined himself.
Right. He just benefited from them.
Yeah, and like really leaned into it.
Okay.
So on the 10-year anniversary of Coca-Cola Germany, Max Keith organized a large party and a group like Hail, to celebrate Hitler's 50th birthday. So they're like really big into it. Like Robert Woodruff, CEO of Coca-Cola in the U.S., didn't really discourage any of this. In fact, Coca-Cola sponsored the 1936 Berlin Olympics. Woodruff attended, and there were flags displaying Coca-Cola alongside the swastika.
Wow.
Yeah, they were like Coca-Cola.
I gotta stop drinking Diet Coke.
I
That's
mean,
the moral of this story.
it's not good, you know.
We gotta
like
cancel these things.
And by the way, like I prefer Coke to Pepsi, the taste wise, but like I felt kind of gross hearing about some of this, and
some of it,
yeah. And keep in mind, all of these are origin stories, right? Like a lot of the companies have been doing a lot to like change. So, and also another thing to keep in mind is that America at this time was not super anti-Germany. There was a lot of anti-Semitism in the U.S., a lot of people who didn't want America to be involved in the war at all. And like a lot of industries, including Hollywood, just ignored the atrocities against human rights that were taking place. But then in 1941, Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, and America was suddenly involved in World War II. Mm-hmm. So there were embargoes were being Pearl Harbor. Did I say?
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, either way. So there were embargoes being set against Germany, and Max Keith couldn't get Coca-Cola syrup for his factories. And the supply of these syrups ran out in 1942. And Max decided he needed to make another kind of soda to stay in the business. So now,
do you know
Fanta.
what the syrup was exactly? Like, what's the syrup? Just the brown?
Yeah, like the brown stuff, and then you mix it with like carbonated water, I'm assuming, and then you bottle it.
So really
there's
just
a recipe.
Kind of the color of it all?
No, there's like a recipe, and I think there's like, it's still very secretive to this day. I think there's like 4 people who know the recipe or something like that, like a really low number. They can't fly together.
That's exciting. What?
Like, yeah, it's like
wild. Okay.
Yeah, it's like a big thing.
Okay.
So the original version of Fanta was made from a combination of apple fibers, whey, and other scrap foods that were left over from the production of other foods. So it's just like a cidery kind of thing with a bunch of sugar, I guess. The drink was intended to be a refreshing and flavor-filled alternative to other soft drinks that were available at the time. A salesman, Joe Nip, was credited with coining the name Fanta during a meeting as a shortened version of the German word for fantasy. So it's just Fanta. Great. After the war, or like during the war, Fanta began getting a widespread popularity. The Nazi Party wasn't big on drinking. It was very big on promoting first Coca-Cola, now Fanta. And Fanta became the drink that was most tied to the Nazi regime.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
Yeah. So after the war was, I think either after it was over or winding down, Max Keith ended up sending profits to like the Coca-Cola company, and they were kind of merged. So his loyalty really did like really lie with Coca-Cola, which was kind of weird. And maybe more than the Nazi regime, but he also like kept a photo of Hitler on his desk like well into the 50s. So
is your opinion that he really just was affiliated with the Nazis because he could profit off of them, or because he actually liked their?
I don't know, but it seems like he wasn't a Nazi. Like it seems like he wasn't affiliated with that party, but he also seemed like a really shrewd businessman, and he was like he probably. Maybe he knew that eventually like something would give, you know? And so he just was being smart about it. I don't know.
Okay.
Like, I don't know.
But it's weird that like it was only the Nazis and not like this other part, like women's rights parties, or you know what I mean? Like,
but nationalism was so widespread in Germany at that time. Like it was just like, and even recently there was like or relatively recently, there was like this Fanta reunion, and they kind of like skirted away from the fact, like they were like, oh, it's 75 years, but they didn't say what year it was in that they were doing the reunion. And they brought back old ad campaigns, but they were really clever about it to like not showcase anything with Nazism, but it was still like a nostalgic sort of feel. So I think he was riding this wave of like loving Germany, and it happened that the Nazi Party was like, yes, nationalism. So I don't know, maybe it was just money, or maybe he was just, but I mean, it's not good. Still.
No, God, no. I don't know. No way.
No, I know. But it's one of those things. It's like, maybe it was just money, but it's not. Okay. It's hard to. So those are the 3.
Ooh.
So
this is tough.
So Brittany, which would you rather fuck? Which would you rather marry? And which would you rather kill? Kellogg's cornflakes, Taco Bell, Or Fanta.
Okay. So here's what's happening. I think that I would marry the Taco Bell guy because he wasn't actively hating anybody, right? Like he was, of course, appropriating, right? But he was kind of marketing. It almost made like Americans be more aware of Mexico, not in a good way, obviously, but like he wasn't like, I hate Mexicans, blah, 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 like the Kellogg's and Coca-Cola, we don't know. But the older brother of Kellogg's, definitely. So I think I will marry Taco Bell man. What's his name again?
Glenn Bell.
Glenn Bell. Oh, Glenn. Let's get married. Not really. I hate all these three.
You're, at this point, it's just the concept.
Yes, exactly.
So,
yeah, we're not actually fucking marrying or killing any of these. They're all pretty awful options. So we're marrying Glenn Bell, but not condoning him. I think I would kill the Kellogg's guys, even though we said we don't know if he was like totally into the eugenics thing.
mm-hmm.
That's actual like active hatred, right?
Yeah.
Like his older brother hated people and wanted only white people to win.
Yeah.
So that's like I'd kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Bye. Goodbye. The Coca-Cola, I think I would fuck only because we don't know. Like, not that I'm condoning, obviously, like any affiliation with the Nazi party, but it almost seems like that guy was just making business with who he could during hard war times.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my answer. So we're marrying Taco Bell. We are killing Kellogg's and we are fucking Coca-Cola.
Okay.
What are your choices?
So I agree. I'm marrying Taco Bell. I think it's, there's a lot of appropriation. I think the most recent stuff is like it's excusable and they need to like step up their game. And I think they're doing a bunch of stuff to like do better, which is great. But this is about origin stories. Uh-huh. So yeah, I think especially for being in his time, it's like, it's not as evil as the other two for sure.
Oh God, no. Yeah.
I'm having a really hard time between the other two. It's a tough one. So while I was doing this, I was like, for sure, I'm going to kill the Kellogg guys because like the John Harvey Kellogg just trash. Is awful. But he lost like the legal stuff and the Will guy left and he did put sugar in cereal and stuff like that. So like that to me is like, okay, I mean, and their reach into the eugenics project couldn't do as much because they were just like these, whereas like the Nazi party
you're
like,
right. Coca-Cola was kind of funding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Can I change my answer?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, I'm going with yours.
Continue.
Yeah,
I think, and it makes me feel so gross to like say that, but then also like the work that the foundation has done. And granted, I didn't do too much research into the foundation, so I'm hoping it's legit. I don't know. But like, I just feel like the guy who promoted cornflakes was a little bit better, whereas like the Fanta thing was like pretty recent, and it's like it's hard to not kill the Nazis.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's like,
absolutely.
I think I have to, and it's like now Fanta is, by the way, all over the world, right?
Yeah.
But from an origin story standpoint, there was an embargo put on Germany to not have the Coca-Cola products, and like the innovation that came from that to support a regiment that is like, it's like, no. So I'm killing I just had
trouble with this. This was a good one. I had trouble, I think, because Kellogg's, they were the one brother, right? I know he was out of it, but he was actively advocating hatred, right? The Fanta, obviously, there was some like condoning of hatred, or maybe we don't know. There's probably some behind the scenes hatred.
But true,
But just based on the
still
facts,
money.
it's like
it was
one
still
was
money.
aggressively hating people, and one was just selling to, finding the market and just ignoring their morals.
Yeah,
sort of. You know what I mean? So,
but it's like what had the larger reach in terms of like when you're pushing so much nationalism and you're really leaning into like getting that emotional, like putting dollars towards marketing to like really rile people up.
Yep. You're right.
I don't know. I feel like that might, whereas if you're just in this little sanitarium and you're doing your weird things and people come to you, I don't know. That's really tough.
Yeah.
I think I have to, just only because Will, the like younger brother, was like, and he might have been a total dick also, but like he was a relatively saving grace with like his capitalist like mindset.
Yeah.
I think just by a hair, I'm gonna have to kill
Coca-Cola.
Fanta.
Yeah.
Not
Fanta,
Coca-Cola.
Fanta.
Yeah.
The
origin story of Fanta.
I'm going to switch with you because, we don't know. We're going to possibly, he condoned obviously hatred, right? So like he went along with it and made money off of it, but he didn't advocate for it.
Yeah.
Possibly. We don't know. But yeah, you're right about the reach with Fanta.
Yeah. And I just want to reiterate as many times as we need to, so many times that this is of the origin stories.
Yes.
We're not talking about the brands
Today
themselves.
Stories, right.
We're not talking about the brands as they stand today. We're just looking at if like a fake, you can't physically marry a concept or a history.
That's the whole point of our podcast.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that it's not like we're not trying to cancel anybody.
We don't like any of these origin stories.
Yes.
We're just trying to figure out which one is tolerable for a night, which one we would stick with for a while, potentially, and which one we would absolutely fuck off.
Yes. And also
immediately.
Not how they are today, just the origins.
Right.
Yes.
All right.
Cool.
Well, thanks for listening to our second episode of Fuck, Marry, Kill. This is Britt and Devika signing off.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.